morning. This is Jay Rovert, founder and director of the R&B Group. According to me, one of the more interesting business networking groups in the United States. And we're honored to have Miss Jeanette Lenoir, a well-esteemed journalist in Washington, D.C. And Jeanette, I've gotten to know you and I've done some homework, and your family background of how your family came to this country is a fascinating story. How you somehow got to Washington, D.C. in the journalism business and have found your way around and became fairly well known and connected is another fascinating part of the story. And of course, my favorite part of the story is you discovered us and you like to attend and help us grow. So Jeanette, as they say, the microphone is yours. Please tell us your story.
Well, thank you so much. I'm grateful I found you. I was able to find you. I was connected to you actually through Seth Rowe, who I was connected with on C-Suite. So that was a really great and lucky connection for me. And thank you so much for the kind introduction. I truly appreciate it. My family is from Suriname. My father was an anthropologist, and he went to my birth country, Suriname, to work on his thesis. He was studying cultural anthropology, and he stumbled upon the Pamaka people, my tribe, and he ended up marrying my mother, one of the chief's daughters of my tribe. So they had 3 children. He eventually came back to the United States, where he worked for the DOJ for, his for the rest of his career. And so my mom and on my mother's side, we are Pamaka people from Suriname, and we are descendants of enslaved people who were brought over during the African diaspora. And once that escape happened, they established themselves within the interior of Suriname, which is, a foreign place to them. But they eventually were able to establish 5 major African tribal societies, and I happen to be one of them. And but I moved to the United States, never thinking, I never didn't even think I could dream about being a journalist. It just wasn't part of my choices growing up. It just wasn't something that I grew up with. I grew up very culturally different than a lot of people here in the United States. So coming to the United States, I was 13 years old. I learned how to speak English. I speak 4 languages in addition to my tribal language. I speak Surinamese and Dutch, which is the primary language of Suriname. And I learned how to speak English when I came here. And as I was learning how to speak English, I discovered news anchors. I discovered some people like Linda Laurel. I was enamored. I could not believe I was seeing women that look like me who were anchoring the news and speaking.
What a thought. What a thought.
Right? It was eloquent. It was beautiful. It was soul shaking. And I decided then that I wanted to do that too. So as a teen, I would run home, a preteen, I would run home and just watch the news and just watch these people deliver the news so beautifully. I wanted to be just like that. And so I set out on that path to do that. I studied to become a journalist. I eventually made my way out of Houston, Texas, where I grew up, and I worked in Congress. First, I worked in the mayor's office in Houston, Texas, where a councilman became a congressman, and I was able to move to Washington, D.C. with him.
What a break.
What a break, right? And so, but he was so nice and kind enough. He knew how much I love journalism, and he allowed me to tag along with his media crew. And so I was able to cut my teeth there in Congress. We did not win re-election. I decided to go back to school, and I worked at WAMU for a little bit.
Where's that?
WAMU is a Washington, D.C.'s radio station. Is NPR's affiliate station here
Sure.
in Washington, D.C. That's where you have greats like Diane Rehm, she the Kojo Namdi show. It's a great station, really the number one station. Sorry, WTOP. So from there, I wanted to work in television. My dream was always to be a television news anchor, like many of my idols growing up. And I'm talking from Linda Laurel to Barbara Walters to Oprah Winfrey. I wanted to be the next Black Diane Sawyer.
Yes.
I love Robin Roberts, who has a wonderful sister also named Sally Ann Roberts, who recently retired from WWL-TV in New Orleans. I followed her career as well.
Robin started out in the sports world, didn't she?
I believe so, yes. Yeah, she did. And now she's, Good Morning America, darling.
Yes.
I can't imagine TV without her. She has a really fantastic sister also, who's had a very long career in New Orleans. So she's also fantastic and has contributed greatly to this field. So I became a news anchor in upstate New York, but I worked in radio. I went to upstate New York to, that's the advice you're always given as when you're a young journalist wanting to work in television. You're advised to go to a small town, cut your teeth, and you get to know the ropes, and you work your way up. And that's how a lot of a lot of journalists, they've worked here, they've worked there, they've worked across the country, and so that's their way of not only getting good at what they do, but also getting to know the country who they are reporting for. So I went to upstate New York. I wasn't able to get into television reporting. It was just culturally closed off for somebody that looks like me. So I went back into radio. So I became an anchor in radio in the local radio station there. During my time there, I won Outstanding Woman of the Year in Arts and Communications. I was also I won a New York State Broadcasters Association's award for Best Spot News. And I've, given several speeches locally. I've worked with National Organization of Women. I've worked with local groups, just, work on this thing called humanity that we're all a part of.
Which we need more of, basically.
Absolutely. And so that is what led to me creating E Pluribus America, was my experience in small town America.
Sure.
We hear so much about small town America, but we really don't know too much about it, at least those of us who don't experience it the way I got to experience it.
And Jeanette, in those times, I would think they had a wider variety of network outlets than they do today. Am I correct?
Oh, what do you mean?
Not just Sinclair or somebody. I think they had more points of view in the small towns.
I would say less points of view. It's I would say less. It's not inclusive. It's actually exclusive. Okay. So they are very focused on. They're just usually most small town Americas are pretty conservative towns.
Sure.
And so they're very focused on the whole Fox News mentality. And yes. I hate to generalize, but that is basically a lot of the experience that I encountered in upstate New York.
Sure. Well, Jeanette, in those days, though, didn't they have 3 TV networks? Or that all changed dramatically because of lack of reception and everything without cable?
Well, I moved there in 2008. So
okay, I got it.
I moved in 2008, so I'm not sure what era you're talking about. Okay. I was there for 11 years almost. I was there for almost 11 years, and I relocated back to Washington, D.C., where I was living. But back in those days, yes, there was Sinclair. I believe Sinclair is still there, and a few other networks and company owners. But yeah, so it led to me creating E Pluribus America, which is this platform really grew out of my attempt to break into the business. I wanted my voice heard. I wanted to be a part of this whole media world.
Sure.
I wanted to be a news anchor and not just share my story, but help encourage other people who have similar experiences as I do, and really bring the American story to life. That
Yes,
doesn't matter where you come from, no matter
sure.
who, if you work hard, uh, you can make it.
Yes.
And that's my story. I am a unique American cultural story.
And,
So,
and
yeah,
a wonderful human being
thank
for
you.
my experience with you on many different levels. You've been absolutely a wonderful attendee and contributor to the R&B group for the brief 18 months to 2 years that you've been attending. Knowing what a busy lady you are and how many interests you have on a personal level, business, culture, and everything, tell us, you take time out of your schedule. You made something very important happen to our group. You made an introduction to one of the most famous TV shows in politics in the country, which I thank you for 1,000 times. Tell us what draws you to our group, why you bring interesting people, and why you continue coming.
Well, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed the R&B group tremendously, and I'm so grateful to have discovered it. And this pandemic has changed our lives drastically.
Yeah,
We're finding new ways to keep business going, keep our social lives going. I mean, as human beings, we have a need to be social. We want to see our families and friends and share times together, good times and bad times. I mean, we found ourselves in a very tough situation and a global situation that we're all experiencing. And the R&B group provided an outlet that allowed us to continue to do the things that make life worth living, from continuing to make connections, the networking with people across the country. You've been able to create a platform that allows people to keep life going, even in a pandemic. And it's been life changing. I've had the opportunity through the R&B group to meet some amazing people who have collaborated with me, who have invited me to their events and to allow me to share my work. And I'm forever grateful for that. So thank you for providing this platform and allowing all of us across the country, across the world, really, to continue to stay connected, do business, and enjoy some company, enjoy some socialization.
yeah,
And what's so wonderful about the R&B group is that you have folks from every sector. It's not just media or
yeah.
technology. You have people in the financial district. You have folks who work in HR. You have lawyers, accountants. It's been a really eclectic experience, full of eclectic people, and I'm forever grateful for it. Thank you for having me.
Well, Jeanette, you're hired. You're going to be doing most of our commercials going forward by your delivery, your poise, your class, and of course, the content of what you just said. So, Jeanette, it's been a privilege for me just to get to know you and who you are as a person. You're a lady, you've got great ethics, your style, and that's the reason you win so many people over. So, Jeanette, I am so thrilled. And again, this is our second rodeo. We're redoing this one. And I'm so glad you took time out of your very busy schedule to come. Thank you very much and look forward to seeing you on January 12th.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything you've done.